Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Part of waiting is expectation. Think about it. If you aren't expecting something, then you really aren't waiting for anything. And of course, it is the expecting that makes waiting so hard. We are impatient as we wait for our expectations to be fulfilled, and the longer they aren't fulfilled, the harder it is to wait. The psalmist knew the difficulties of waiting, and he also knew that the only answer was to put his trust in God. In Psalm 33, verses 20 through 22, we find, "Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. Our heart is glad in him because we trust in his holy name. Let your steadfast love, O Lord, be upon us, even as we hope in you." In the quiet agony of waiting, the psalmist knew that God was his hope. God was the source of help. God was the place of trust. The anxiety of waiting is replaced by the confidence of faith, trust, and hope. Now that we have entered Advent, we are spending this time before Christmas looking at stories of Bible people who waited for something, and the people we will look at today had to wait a long time, and for the most part maintained their trust and hope that God was their answer. Today we will look at Abraham and Sarah. Whenever we come to Advent, I always think of pregnancy as we are waiting for a baby. Advent is a pregnant time filled with expectation. We even say a pregnant couple is expecting. It might even be fair to say that Abraham and Sarah were expecting to be expecting. In those early times, having children was important. It was through your children that you passed your lineage on. It was your children who cared for you and provided for you in your old age. But Abraham and Sarah had reached old age and had no children. That meant they had no future. Things had come to a dead end. Where was hope for them? Well, for them, hope came in the form of a promise. God told them that they would have a child. In fact, God told Abraham that he would be the father of a multitude, and Abraham and Sarah dared to believe the promise. Then came the waiting. It didn't happen this year, or next year, or the next. When all this started, Sarah was already past childbearing age. They waited and waited some more. They weren't always so patient. One time they decided that this thing must be too hard for God, and so Sarah sent Hagar, her handmaid, in to Abraham so that Sarah might have a child surrogately by her. But that wasn't the plan. They waited for 25 years for the promise to be fulfilled, and when they were so old that it was clear that this thing could happen only by the hand of God, it did. Old Abraham and Sarah found themselves with a newborn, tottering along with a toddler. Their waiting was over, their hope and trust fulfilled. Perhaps the psalmist had them in mind when he wrote about waiting for the Lord. Perhaps it was Abraham and Sarah who first knew all about the steadfast love of the Lord being upon them as they continued to hope in God. We can too. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.